What's up guys? Well, Singapore is a great place to visit and be a tourist and to come here and play. It is not necessarily the best place to come and work and live if you don't like some of the stuff that I'm gonna be saying. There are actually 10 reasons why Singapore isn't really such a fantastic place to work and live in. And the very first reason is the weather here in Singapore. The weather here in Singapore is hot all year round. Right now, I am just sweating in a 34 degrees Celsius weather, and it's always raining most of the time. And the rain that you get here isn't just that small tiny drizzle, but a massive thunderstorm usually. And the humidity in this place is just a staggering 70 to 80% most of the time. You can be just taking your shower and just step out from the bathroom, and within minutes you will be sweating from the humidity and the hot weather here in Singapore. Well, it is great if you are here on a holiday and you're enjoying that nice warm weather and suntanning yourself or by the beach or by the pool. But if you're living here, that heat really saps out all the energy from you before your workday has even started. Singapore is well known to be one of the most expensive places in the world to run and maintain your own car. If you're someone who is used to having your own car where you come from and you want the freedom and mobility of having your own car, you will be very disappointed because in Singapore, cars are massively expensive. For example, a Toyota Camry, which will cost you about 20,000 US dollars in many other parts of the world, in Singapore is gonna set you back more than 100,000 US dollars. And what is more shocking is for that 100,000 US dollars, you are not able to own the car for more than 10 years. There is a statutory lifespan of 10 years for all cars here. The next big cost of staying, living and working in Singapore is that of accommodation. Accommodation is really expensive in Singapore. You're talking about prices equivalent to places like New York, London, Sydney, Hong Kong. A simple 3-bedroom apartment in a condominium can cost you up to 2,000 US dollars to 2,500 US dollars depending on the location that you are staying in. The next disadvantage of Singapore is that it is so small, and when you have a place so small, an island so small that you can actually walk from the east coast to the west coast of the entire country within a day, and you have almost 6 million people crammed in this tiny island, it is just gonna feel really cramped and claustrophobic in a lot of the popular places. And because this island is such a tiny place, if you're someone who enjoys the great outdoors, you want to go out to nature and go hiking and go for a run in nature, it is something that you will not be able to do because there is just a shortage of huge open land, natural spaces for you to take your hikes during your time off from work. For some of us who are from the Western world and coming to a Southeast Asian country like Singapore, one of the things that you will find shocking and surprising is that we have corporal punishment. We still have corporal punishment and we still have the death penalty. So you can just be trafficking very small amounts of heroin. You can just have a couple of grams on you, and if you're caught trafficking those drugs or you are caught consuming those drugs, you can be literally very heavily punished. So when you are in Singapore, you got to be mindful of those things that you are doing that may attract a corporal punishment. You may be caned or sent to jail for what might seem like a very trivial offense. For example, vandalizing public property in Singapore, for example, will attract a corporal punishment of a couple of strokes of the cane as well as jail time. People in Singapore also tend to have a poor work-life balance. People here work very long hours and you're expected to stay beyond your usual work hours. And if you don't work beyond your usual hours, then your chances of promotion is usually much lower and you will not be looked upon favorably among your colleagues who will be putting in more hours than is necessary. So if you're looking for a place to work where they respect a work-life balance, Singapore is not the best place to be working in. Singapore is also a place where there are very few leisure activities for you to take part in after work during the weekends because it is such a small place and it's filled with so many people that there just isn't a lot of leisure options. You can find that a lot of the leisure activities that you are used to doing back home during the time that you are not working are just simply not found here. In fact, most of the residents here, both the citizens as well as the people working here, usually will always take the opportunity to take a short trip to neighboring countries like Bali, Phuket, to enjoy a time off from work rather than spending it in Singapore. Most of the people in Singapore during their days off from work, they usually spend it either by catching a movie or just going window shopping at the malls. Pretty much apart from that, there really isn't very much else to do. For those who enjoy an occasional tipple, Singapore can be quite an expensive place for you to get your drinks. Those who like to have an after hours drink to enjoy yourself at the pub or a cafe, it's going to be costly here in Singapore. Half a pint of beer in Singapore is going to cost you about $9 to about $14 for half a pint. And if you're going to have a few beers with your friends, the bill is going to add up pretty quickly once you factor in like the service charges as well as the goods and services tax. In fact, in the Southeast Asia region, Singapore is known to have one of the highest tax on alcohol. So not only is alcohol expensive here in Singapore, but there are pretty much a lot of places which are liquor control areas, and that is you are not allowed to be seen consuming or even buying alcohol at certain times of the day or even be seen drinking in public at certain times of the day. Customer service also tends to be pretty poor in Singapore, with many just not giving the level of customer service that one is accustomed to in more developed countries like the US, Australia, or even in Japan. And in quite a number of restaurants and cafes, you can find that there is little incentives for being customer oriented or having good customer service, simply because the service charge is already included in your bill. There is a 10% service charge that is already included in your food bill or your drinks bill, regardless of how the server performed. As such, the wait staff really has not a lot of incentive to give a very high quality of customer service.